tell me why I agreed to do this?
This documentary will record your progress from your arrival in Canada as a draft refugee through your career as a filmmaker.
Where's my wife?
I'm here, Leo.
I want to tell everything for the record.
I know most of the stuff anyway.
You don't know any of it.
Okay, let's begin. Lights, please.
Leonard Fife, December 22, 2023.
The story begins the night of March 30th, 1968, Richmond, Virginia.
Through my wind,
I can hear him.
You're her. She'll be a girl.
out the wind,
Ben tells me you're going north tomorrow.
out the light
I was on my way to decide my future.
from
I never returned to Virginia.
the yes and oh.
A look at the new film, Oh, Canada, starring Richard Gere and Uma Thurman. Gere plays the character of Leonard Fife, one of 60,000 draft evaders who fled from the U.S. to Canada to avoid serving in Vietnam. Fife eventually becomes a respected documentary filmmaker and decides to give a final testimony of his life during an on-camera interview, revealing the hidden details about his decision to leave the U.S. all those decades ago. And joining us now is actor, producer, Golden Globe winner, and humanitarian Richard Gere. It's great to have you back on the show.
Yeah,
this
I was
looks
trying to remember the
fascinating.
last time we did this, Mika. When was this?
I know. It was a good decade, maybe.
It was years, yes.
It was
Can you turn up
years.
the sound a little bit more in my ear?
Absolutely. Give him more volume, please. And just come on into the shot and do so. Can you hear me
Great.
enough?
Yeah,
I'd
that's
love
great.
to ask you to tell us about Oh, Canada.
Well, it's I kind of fell in love with this project. Paul Schrader and I haven't worked together in, I hate to say this, 40 years. And, we stayed friends since we made American Gigolo together. And we've talked about things over the years, but he sent me this script, and it was something. Normally, I take a long time to say yes to things, but this was pretty immediate. My dad had just passed away, and he was 1 month short of 101. But I had seen him go through this process of aging and disassociating, and how memories and emotions and stories became conflated with each other and much more expressionistic. And I really took to this script.
So it's based on the novel, Foregone. Were you familiar with the book? And talk to us about
No, I wasn't actually. I didn't know the book. I mean, I knew Russell Banks, but this book, I don't think many people knew this book. I don't think it was one of his super successful.
Well, they'll certainly learn it from this film. What are some of you mentioned the idea of aging. What are some of the other themes right now that were striking to you, that drew you to this project?
Well, I forgot this introduction. I forgot, that it's really centered on that time in the late 60s and early 70s, which was also the time when I was drafted. I was in the first draft. And I had friends who left. And I also, at some point I'll tell the story, but I left as well. I left school, which I had a deferment. And then after my sophomore year, I left to join the circus and become an actor. But I was, in a sense, running from the draft at that point. So this resonates with me, and I think people of my generation. I don't know if kids today can even relate to that. I don't know.
Quick compliment, and then my question. You look really great. I got to say.
Yeah.
Been watching my whole
I'm
life.
IA. This is not. This is not me.
Yeah.
I've been cleaned up.
I got to say, because the people watching at home, we get to sit. I'm sitting here thinking, look, Richard Gere looks great. So I did want to share
Not bad
that.
for 103.
I wanted to share that. You look at a project like this, it draws on history, and it takes a while to put these things together. We all know that, and yet it lands in a very certain moment. And so I'm just curious now how you feel about a story that is about the classic idea that perhaps an unjust law is no law at all, and where does one's moral obligations fit into what we're told the country demands?
Well, the movie's not really about that. I mean, I think it's about how we all have secrets. We've all invented ourselves. There are things in our past we want to let go of. And at this moment, the contrivance of the film is that he's giving his last confession. I mean, it's somewhat like Krapp's Last Tape, which is a very famous play, where a guy is sitting alone in a room listening to old tapes of him telling the story of his life. And it's true to some extent what he's remembering. But I think what you get in a kind of a contrapuntal sense, because this is in and out of time, Jacob Elordi plays me as a young man. And it's not necessarily true what we're seeing on film. Even the story that I'm telling may not be true. It's kind of true in a broad emotional sense, but the facts are fluid. And I think we see that in our own lives. The facts are fluid, but the emotion is true. And what we feel about things is something that we can hold on to.
So here's a clip from the film when Richard's character, Leonard Fife, is confronted by his estranged adult son.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Congratulations, Dad.
What?
I'm your son, Cornell.
Who's this?
It's Alicia's son.
That's right. I'm your son.
I don't have a son. Stay away from me.
Certainly a powerful moment there. Let's get your reflections upon that, and also just working with Uma Thurman and the rest of this spectacular cast.
Well, that scene, he hasn't seen his son since the son was a few years old. I mean, in the context of the film, it's pretty powerful. And he's not a wonderful guy at all times. What was the other question?
Just about the cast and
oh, the cast was terrific. I mean, obviously, you know, Uma playing my wife in this, and Michael Imperioli is the filmmaker. He was a student of mine in school, and he and his wife were students of mine, and they've come to me, and they want this last confession, last interview, and they're terrific. Jacob is wonderful. We didn't know who Jacob was when Paul hired him for this film. We were talking about actors, and I'd heard very little about him, and I saw some work, and he was terrific. But we had no idea that there were going to be 500 girls hanging around the set when we were shooting.
All right. The new film, Oh, Canada, opens in select theaters on December 6th. It looks absolutely fascinating. Actor, producer, and Golden Globe winner Richard Gere, thank you